beloved son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
There's a somewhat frightening law towards the beginning of this week's Torah portion. Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verse 18. The law of the wayward and rebellious son. A young man who's just passed bar mitzvah, who rebels against his father and his mother, steals money from them, uses it to buy meat and wine that he then consumes. His parents are told they have to take him to the court. And if the court determines that he meets all the qualifications, they put him to death. Not because of his current sins, but because they know that left to his own devices, he'll eventually become a murderer. So we put him to death now. Now that's a radical departure from Torah law. God doesn't punish for things that we haven't yet done, but don't worry. Rest assured, our sages tell us that no one has ever been executed as a wayward and rebellious son, because it's virtually impossible to meet all of the qualifications. The young boy would have to be between the ages of 13 and 13 and 3 months. His parents would have to have a similar physical appearance and speak with the same voice. He'd have to use his stolen money to buy a significant amount of meat and wine. So practically speaking, you can't ever, nor have we ever had, an actual wayward and rebellious son. So why would God take the time to include in the Torah a law that has no real-life import? The reason, of course, is to teach us some lessons. That perhaps we should be careful as parents not to overemphasize luxury at a time when our children are of impressionable ages. It's also telling us that as parents, we have to make sure to speak to our children with one voice, giving them one consistent message rather than two contradictory messages. And it's telling us that in those 3 months after bar mitzvah, a kid's history can be written during that short time period. He can become, with the wrong choices, irretrievably bad. And the converse is also true. With the right choices, he can become good and set himself up on the right path for the rest of his life. That young man who's a man with respect to the laws, but still a child with respect to his youthful enthusiasm and his newfound passions. Passions that have to be channeled and focused, particularly during those 3 months. And yet, so many of us fall prey to that bar mitzvah syndrome. We spend so much time worrying and planning and fretting about, is he going to be able to read the Torah? Are we going to make a party? What type of party? Who are we going to invite? What are we going to do about the relatives that don't talk to each other? What about the invitations? What about the party favors or the desserts? Etc., etc. And whether you're making a party on an island or on a boat, or whether you're making a theme party, or some other wild or wacky shindig, or whether you're inviting thousands of your fellow Hasidim to your bar mitzvah, or getting called up to the Torah at the kotel, or in your local synagogue. Regardless, afterwards, when it's over, and we tend to pat ourselves on the back or congratulate ourselves or exhale or slap our son a high five because he did it, we forget that a bar mitzvah is not a finish line. It's the starting gate. And that's what the Torah is shouting out at us with this law. Those next 3 months are critical to this young man-child's development. It's the 3 months after bar mitzvah that he most needs us, not the 3 months before. It's when he needs us as parents, as rabbis, as educators, as community members, as siblings, as grandparents, as friends. Don't snooze on those 3 months.